Rather than capitulating, as is the custom, the House of Lords have insisted on a further 2 amendments going back to the House of Commons, so scuppering Rishi Sunak's plans to get his Rwanda law onto the statute books before the end of the week. That won't happen now. There'll be a further debate in the House of Commons next week. And really, Rishi ought to take the hint that this is not something that he should be going for. The ping-pong should be not something for him to endure and outlast. It should be something for him to think about and ask, is this ping-pong a result of him trying to do something which the country doesn't want? He only seems to listen to GB News and Tufton Street, the Tufties of Tufton Street, the little squirrels. And there are other people on the planet, there are other people in the UK who think this Rwanda plan is wrong. Rishi's Rwanda plan is wrong. All those R's and some of them W's. And the Conservative high rankers are mistaken in their thought, A, that the Rwanda plan will work, B, that they can excise themselves from the ECHR, and C, that this will win their next election, because it will not. The next election will stop, and these various bills will either be put in the freezer or repealed by the next Labour government. It's as simple as that. And to say that this whole I was going to say barrage, but possibly I should say farrage of legislation has acted as a deterrent or will act as a deterrent is a nonsense. It's not a deterrent at all. This year, 6,200 people have reached Britain by boat, 27% higher than the same period last year. More than 700 people arrived last weekend. And the Immigration Minister, Michael Tomlinson, may say that the changes in the House of Lords were unnecessary or were wrecking amendments or prevent the very things the bill was designed to do, namely to stop the boats and get the planes off the ground. Well, it doesn't matter. Even if planes get off the ground, even if the bills pass, these will not stop the boats. And letting the bill pass now will send a clear signal that if you come to the UK illegally, you will not be allowed to stay. Tomlinson is wrong. You may not be allowed to stay. You may be judged to have come to the UK illegally, but that is not going to stop people coming, because people are already desperate. Every week, I think, every 2 weeks maybe, somebody dies in the Channel or somebody dies in the Mediterranean using these small boats to escape from the countries where they have come from. And if that isn't a deterrent, Rwanda is not going to be any more of a deterrent. This is a nonsense. Stephen Kinnock has said that the Rwanda scheme is unworkable, unaffordable, and unlawful. It was deeply damaging in terms of its impact on our constitutional conventions and our adherence to the rule of law. 40,000 people are now in the UK stuck in some sort of Kafkaesque limbo where they can't claim asylum and they have nowhere to go. And the Home Secretary, under these laws, the 3 laws which were rolled out to try and force through the Rwanda plan, the 3rd law is coming up to becoming law now. That's the Rwanda law. These 3 laws, the Nationality and Borders law, the Illegal Immigration law, and the Rwanda law, all of them penned under Suella Braverman, all of them started by Priti Patel, all of them in the mood of the hostile environment set up by Theresa May. All of these are wrong. They all defy international agreements that we are still signatories to. The only way forward is to either break with those international agreements, which I think would be wrong, or to hold a global conference and redefine those international treaties. And I think there will be a ready audience in Europe for that redefinition. Only that way can we start to do things legally, number one. And number two, only by positioning consular support outside the UK to allow would-be refugees to make their first claim before they get to our country, to set up consular offices on the shores of France, as indeed France has offered, to set them up on the shores of Turkey, Albania, Libya, Syria maybe, near Afghanistan. Only that way can we deter people from using people traffickers and smugglers, because those people have already risked everything, and they turn to the only people they know who are going to help them. Because there's no consular officials around to help. There's nobody offering real advice. The only people who offer help and support, I know this because I observed it all at close hand 20 years ago, are the people smugglers and the traffickers. And they look like ordinary people, and many of them have their own offices. These people are practically officials. And that's the business we need to stop. And that business is fairly easy to identify. And the lazy Home Office workers, whether these are the bureaucrats or whether these are the bosses, have gone for the victims rather than the criminals, have gone to persecute the people who have already been persecuted. And yes, there may be a few scammers in that group, but not so many, I suspect. Most of those people are genuine people fleeing for their lives and taking their lives in their hands in small boats, trusting the only people who offer real advice. The only way to break the smuggler and trafficker gangs is to offer better advice and better help and proper security over and above what the smugglers and the traffickers offer, to take their business away from them. And this would be significantly cheaper than the huge amounts of money that we're going to have to pay Rwanda to accommodate, 300 migrants? This is a madness on a par with Liz Truss's economics. It's a madness. And the sooner we wake up and recognise that this madness is part of Liz Truss's hand gestures and part of Theresa May's absurdity, Priti Patel's nonsense, and Suella Braverman's viciousness, the better we will be.